we were talking, we break for lunch, and people watching the video, that doesn't matter, because the videos are just like you staple them together. That's the technology I use. I staple the two videos together. Here, let's give me your face and I'll show you how I connect it. Let me give another example of what we were talking about. Plato's insistence that we need strong leadership. All right. So, and nobody's being asked to give any personal examples, and nobody's being judged right now for occasionally doing what I'm about to talk about, and we can guess what I'm about to talk about, and that is the plague of AI use. Right? So as a technology, a very tempting technology for a student, and it really popped up out of almost nowhere, it seemed like, and for you guys, that probably happened when you were in 7th or 8th grade, right? Is when that popped up. There's got a few different grade levels in here, but so I mean, of course there was a temptation, and you know, and I don't blame anyone for experimenting with it, right? But then we know what happened, right? It took over. Okay, so there's a couple of years where everybody's cheating where almost everybody's cheating on almost every assignment almost every time, which means almost nobody is actually learning anything, right? Which then collapses the whole purpose of education. And as Socrates teaches us, we live in a democracy where the people rule. If the purpose of education is collapsed, you know, fast forward 20 years, and now society itself is in grave danger because now society is run by people who didn't learn anything. All right, so if students who got in that habit, so obviously, I'm not asking if that's you, I doubt that's you, and I'm not asking if you ever tried it, because I don't blame anyone who has ever tried it, but a student, you know of people who use it all the time, right? Don't tell me who they are. You know of people who use it all. I know teachers who are using it now, right? Not to make pictures. I'm not trying to be a hypocrite here, but teachers who use it to generate things that their students will then use it to pretend they read. Right? So the whole thing becomes pointless. The student who's in that habit, who now hasn't read a book in 4 years, hasn't written anything for himself since he was in 3rd grade, and is getting away with it. Every day is easier. Life will be much harder because he won't know anything, but every day is easier. What are the odds that that student on his own or her own is going to decide, from this day forward I will be a man of integrity and I will do the hard work. First I'll have to catch up on everything I only pretended to learn, and now I will do the hard work and start doing my work for myself. By himself, never got caught, just makes that decision. What are the odds of students going to do that? 1 in 10. 1 in 10, best, right? 1 in 10, best. A strong leader in the classroom says, if you cheat in this class, I will start taking your phones. If you cheat in this class, 2nd semester, you will automatically fail this class. And that's true, by the way. The 2nd semester of the course, if you cheat on day 2, you sit for the rest of the semester in a class you've already failed and you can't do anything about. What are the odds that a student with that kind of a jerk teacher is going to quit cheating, at least in that class? Better than 1 in 10, right? Yeah. Seems like Plato's onto something when it comes to strong leadership. Of course, he doesn't just want strong leadership. You know, Plato respects physical strength too. He's a professional wrestler, but he doesn't want brutal physical strong leadership. He wants to see people in power with real power, but people in power who are really well-read, learned, wise, and virtuous people in power. And it's hard not to sympathize with that, as you know, you watch people in power today who don't always seem to know very much. People in power today, and that's not like an overtly, I'm not pointing to any one particular person. We can look at the federal and the state level, or the state levels for the last 20 years and point out lots of these folks. And then, if you've read a little history, compare that to, compare what politicians today seem to know to what working class people knew 100 years ago. You want to cry? Look up what a 7th grade end of course exam equivalent was 150 years ago. Read the letters of presidents from the 1800s where they're quoting Homer and Plato and Aristotle and Virgil and Cicero left and right, and you'll see there's been a great decrease in knowledge, and it's not making the world better. There's a dark side to all this. There is a direct line. Plato never hurt anybody. If Plato had a crystal ball and could see abuses of power in our Western civilization, so not just the United States, but broader throughout Europe and over the last few hundred years, if he could see that, he would cry, he would turn over in his grave. But there's a direct line of causality from Plato to Adolf Hitler, Joseph Stalin, and every authoritarian leader, right? Because authoritarian leaders always think they know better than everybody else. And authoritarian leaders always, sometimes they define everybody else too small, so there's some people they don't care about. But whoever they've defined as their people, they care about. And they say, but they need strong leadership. They need, you've heard the term fascism before? So, Benji, follow me to the Roman flag. This is the flag of the Empire of Rome. And you got the eagle, and the eagle holds in its talons something called a fasces. A fasces is a tightly bound bundle of sticks wound together. And it's a symbol of Roman authority. Because if I have a tightly bound bundle of sticks together, if I have one stick and I bonk you with one stick, it doesn't hurt too much, does it?
No.
Guess where this is going. But if I have a tightly bound bundle of sticks, I can beat you into submission if I need to. And the emperors of Rome, they conquer you, they'll actually make your life better in a ton of ways. We'll talk about this more in a couple of weeks, as long as you do as you're told, right? But Rome is all about order, and if you defy them, they will beat you into submission. So the fascist movements of the 20th century named themselves after that symbol of power, the fasces. Why? Because no fascist leader thinks he's evil, right? No, a fascist leader thinks this is what the people need to thrive. And if you get in the way of what the people need to thrive, Address Mellies, God help you, right? Because I owe it to the people to beat you down. Now, is that what Plato wanted? No. But it's what we got. I don't mean like right now, this minute, but it's what we got over and over and over and over again in our civilization. And that's also lots of good things that are fruit of Plato. I hope I haven't given you an impression the last 5 weeks that Plato's bad and I don't like Plato. Life is messy, and Plato's responsible for a lot of bears some responsibility for the authoritarian strain in our culture. Better news. Plato's like the first and like the only ancient voice on record to advocate for the full equality of men and women. He thinks women should have equal opportunity, women should be educated, they should be allowed that. He thinks that everybody should be allowed, men, woman, born a slave, born free. He doesn't talk about different races because he's working in one little city in one little country, but he would say black, white, Latino. The court doesn't even know some of those things exist. He knows black folks exist, but everybody should have the opportunity to do anything that they as individuals are capable of doing. Right? And so there's yes, he gives us the authoritarianism, but he also gives us the seeds of equality. Even though if you asked him, are men and women equal, he would say yes. If you asked him, are all people equal, he would say no. But people are complicated. He's got both of those strains in him. The last thing to take away from Plato for this conversation, hopefully, I encourage you to dive into Plato on your own as you continue to learn, not just in school. Maybe you'll take philosophy in college. Hopefully you will. But just as you continue to learn as a human being who knows more and more, dig more deeply into Plato. No matter what Plato is talking about, when Plato wants to find how we should do things, how we should build things, how we should organize things, Plato wants to turn our eyes away from broken, flawed, weak versions of anything and look instead for the ideal. Think if you want to build a government, then picture the ideal government. Picture the closest to perfect you can get, and that's what you should build. How should I live my life? Picture the ideal man, the ideal woman. And as close to that, that's what you should be. Plato is always calling us to do better, to be better. Not in a scolding way, like, if I were saying that to you, I'd be like, do better. Be better. Right? You probably wouldn't like that very much, would you? Yeah. No. But you should do those things anyway. But he's saying, no, be your best self. And then be better than that. Be perfect. Like, I can't. But if you're not even trying, you're not going to get anywhere close to it. Plato's always pointing us to a horizon. The thing about horizons is you never reach them. That's what makes them horizons. Like Emily, like they will point you to stay awake forever. All right, stay awake forever, and she's not going to get there. But if she tries to stay awake forever, she might be able to stay awake for the last 5 minutes of this discussion, right? So, to wrap it up with Plato, to the degree you can wrap it up with Plato, turn to page 92. Audrey Smelly's take the driver's seat. My seat. What seat? Go to the bottom of 92, very last paragraph, and Audrey Smellis is going to lead us in reading the last page of the chapter. So now the letter is over, and we're just catching up with Sophie. No, start with the last paragraph and finish.
Okay. Oh,
do it
that's cool.
Whole can on your stupid face.
Oh, Sophie had been reading about Plato. The sun had risen over the woods to the east. It was peeping over the horizon just as she was reading how one man clambered out of the cave and drank in the dazzling light outside.
So we can hear you better.
Oh, it was almost as if she had herself emerged from an underground cave. Sophie felt that she saw nature in a complete different way after reading about Plato. It was rather like having been colorblind. She had seen some shadows but had not seen the clear ideas. She was not sure Plato was right in everything he had said about the eternal pattern. There was a beautiful thought that all living things were in perfect copies of the eternal forms in the world of ideas. Because wasn't it true? Because wasn't it true that all followers, trees, human beings, and animals were imperfect? Everything she saw around her was so beautiful and so alive that Sophie had to rub her eyes and to really believe it. but nothing she was looking at now would last. Yet, in 100 years, the same flowers and the same animals would be here again. Even if every single flower and every single animal should fade away and be forgotten, there would be something that recollected how it all was. Sophie gazed out at the world.
Attention teachers and students, please pardon the interruption. Jaylee Verrett, if you're on campus, please come to the front office. Jaylee Verrett, if you're on campus, please come to the front office.
Is that you, Audrey Smellies?
What?
Jaylene Moran, is that
No,
you?
that's
Oh.
not me. Oh, suddenly a squirrel ran up the trunk of a pine tree.
Oh my God, that's a squirrel sound, you think?
It circled the trunk a few times and disappeared into the branches. I've seen you before, thought Sophie. She realized that maybe it was not the same squirrel that she had seen previously, but she had seen the same form. For all she knew, Plato could have been right. Maybe she really had seen the eternal squirrel before, in the world of ideas, before her soul had taken residence in a human body. Could it be true that she had lived before? Had her soul existed before it got a body to move around in? And it was really true that she carried a little golden nugget inside her, a jewel that cannot be
Corroded.
or corroded
It's
by
like
time.
rust.
The soul that will live on the soul that will live on when her own body grew old and died.
So, we can end the video.